All right, good afternoon. Welcome to the September 9th meeting of the Milledgeville Rotary Club. Please silence your phones. And as Larry Mullis, our Rotarian of the day, comes up.
Please join me in prayer. Lord, as Rotarians, help us always to be patient and kind. Help us not to be boastful, envious, or proud. Protect us from being rude, self-seeking, and easily angered. Teach us not to keep records of wrongs or to delight in evil, but show us the benefits of dealing in truths. Inspire us to spread peace, hope, and perseverance in helping mankind in our community and throughout the world. Please protect and deliver our fellow citizens who are stranded across seas and may return safely to their homes. Lord, please be with the families of Jerry McCree, Reverend Carl Bryce, and Colonel Van Horn. Please bless this food and the hands that prepared it. In your name we pray. Amen. Amen. Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. First,
Is it the truth?
Second,
Is it fair to all concerned?
third,
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
fourth,
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
and
Is it fun? Thank you, Larry. Rotarians, as you sit down, please remember the cart fund buckets there. Put your loose change in. Last week, we had $38 collected. Can I get 3 Rotarians to do a $10 match? The Crystal. All right, and one more. All right, you got him, Derek. All right, thank you all. William, have we got any prayer requests?
Yeah, we got a rough week as Rotarians. We lost a couple long-term Rotarians. Carl Weiss passed away, and also Jerry McCree, who was in the club in times past. And of course, Colonel Van Horn's wife passed away. So I got a couple of sympathy cards going around for Jerry and Carl's family. Please make a point to sign those, and I'll get those to the family. They're having visitation on Friday. You should have gotten an email about that, and the funeral services are going to be on Saturday. So if you have any questions, just give them in. But just keep those families in our prayers. If you have any questions, like I said, about the service or whatever, just give me a call. I can get you the time and all that.
Thanks, William. Are there any other announcements? Dr. Price?
I do. I have a sign-up sheet going around for the Thanksgiving basket. It will be $75 to have a basket for a family. So if you would just indicate whether you will be participating, I would appreciate it. So the sign-up sheet is over here, and it will go around.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Price. Any other announcements? All right. Well, since Greg is not here, Derek is standing in. So Derek, you want to come up with our 50-50 raffle and our guests?
Got it. Okay, we have 2 guests visiting with us today. Paul Bean.
Yes, my guest is he's with Windstream. He's the director of field operations for Central Georgia, and got an application in the road.
All right.
All right.
Welcome. Steve's back with us today again. Good to have you back.
And
Welcome.
we also have an application in for Dr. Greer to join our Rotary Club.
Okay, good. Welcome. We have started out. I think I asked Greg. I think he's COVID quarantine. He said we're at $70. Today's add about 25 to it, so we're getting close to $100 for the pot. It's still early in the game. A lot of cards. Let our speaker, who will be introduced in just a moment, pick the winner. Last three digits, 080. The game.
That was close.
The company, the family, what do we call y'all? Mafia terms. Okay. Six of diamonds. All right, thank you guys.
All right. Thank you, Derek. And if there are no other announcements at this time, I'm going to let Crystal Law come up and introduce our guest speaker.
Good afternoon. I'm happy to introduce Holly Croft. She works for Georgia College. She probably has a lot to tell us about the archives of Georgia College, but today she's actually going to be speaking about the DAR. And we want to know what the DAR is, and she's going to tell you a little bit more about it. And she is the regent of our Nancy Hart chapter. So I'm going to let Ms. Holly step up and speak.
So I appreciate that I selected another mafia person. In the Georgia State Daughters of the American Revolution, my family is kind of known as the Cox Mafia because we're there and we're everywhere. And those are my mother and sister, and the cousin who is the one who convinced me to fill out an application are folks in the picture with me. But generally, if you see one of us, you see all of us. So the Daughters of the American Revolution, we actually have a couple of members in your Rotary here. Both Crystal is a member and also Laura Thompson. And I didn't see Laura come in. I know for sure she is in this group. And they are both fellow chapter members for the Nancy Hart chapter in Milledgeville. The Daughters of the American Revolution started in 1890. Originally, there was not going to be a Daughters of the American Revolution because it was the Sons of the American Revolution that was open to female members. I'm sorry. Do I need to stay back here on the podium? I will. But sorry, folks, I forgot. So in 1889, when the Sons of the American Revolution started, it looked as though there was going to be one lineage society for folks who could trace their ancestry back to the American Revolution. But less than a year later, the men decided they didn't want the women with them. And the joke is on them because we're the larger society now and far more active. But anyway, so they decided they'd exclude women. And then in October, 4 ladies met in an apartment in DC. And they are, the ladies memorialized in the DAR Founders Monument at our headquarters, which is very close to the White House in DC. And so Mary Dacia, Mary S. Lockwood, Ellen Walworth, and Eugenia Washington are their names. And they are DAR members 1 through 4. My member number has like 6 digits on it. So so why were patriotic societies formed in the 1890s? Because it wasn't just us. This is the period of time, 1880s, 1890s, that you saw United Daughters of the Confederacy form, the Women's Relief Corps, which is it is the auxiliary of the Grand Army of the Republic. They still exist today. Of those 3, they were the only one that actively welcomed African-American women. Originally, DAR had Black members, but in 1895, it became an issue where a lady that they wanted to particularly exclude applied, and so they voted to only have white members. And that is not a proud moment for us these days, but it is one of the things that is true of our early years. And the lineage societies that we're forming really were trying to look for a way to encourage people to find common ground, because the North and South were still really struggling with each other. And by forming a lot of these patriotic rituals that we do even today, this was a way to form some sort of commonality with people that you just really didn't like. And so thus began the DAR. The DAR was also a way for women to have some political agency in a safe sense. They were formed well before women got the vote. Many of the suffragettes that you know the names of, they were members. And DAR's early years spent a lot of time pushing for the vote for women. And this was a safe way to do it because DAR was supporting patriotism in a way that women could still say, okay, but we're still in the home, right? We're not trying to be radicals out here to change society completely, but you know, we can show with our numbers that we have the ability to change society. And so eventually, DAR became less political, started right around the 1930s that really started ramping down. But I did see recently an old, I can't remember which program it was on TMC, and the husband was angry that his wife had gone to a DAR meeting because she was going to be there with those wild suffragettes, and I thought that was so fun. So today we have 180,000 active members across all 50 states. There are chapters in every single state, and we actually have some overseas. We call those our units overseas. And yes, there is one in England, which is also kind of fun. Georgia is the 5th largest state society. We have 8,000 active women in DAR today. I told you that our member numbers have gotten a lot larger since 1 through 4. We welcomed our 1,000,000th member 2 years ago. And it's the lady who replaced Dear Abby. So yeah. So about DAR, as far as service areas, we have become more of a support for historic preservation, education, and then patriotism. And if you have ever had a child participate in the history essay contest, if you've had a child win a Good Citizen medal, get a JROTC medal, that's all DAR at work in your schools. We are super proud that our chapter is the only chapter in the state that had a sponsored project when one of DAR's historic preservation grants this year. We are helping to restore the foundation of the Old Capitol Museum at the Depot. So that is pretty exciting. So that is one of the historic preservation projects. We do grants for projects that don't quite fit a lot of the federal tax. Yeah, if they don't quite fit that, they might fit the DAR grant. For other historic preservation, we have a tree at GMC. It's called the Liberty Tree. We're going to be replanting the Liberty Tree next month. And so there are conservation projects. We have DAR forests in all 50 states. The one in Georgia is in northeast of part of the state. And so there's a lot that goes on with these things. And again, yeah, even with like these things that DAR does, of course, also support for veterans, a lot of folks don't really know. So here are some of the ladies in the 1930s working on a historic preservation project. That one's in Maryland. That's actually Archibald Bullock chapter in Statesboro, giving out a history award. And then patriotism. DAR is continuously active in patriotism. Some of the things that fit under that, we distribute flag code and a couple of other things that are just right now, they've gone, but it will come back. So we also do Constitution Days. That will be next week. So Constitution Day is September 17th. And usually we do a program at GMC. Of course, with COVID this year, that is not going to happen. So hopefully that'll be back next year. And then we also participate in naturalization ceremonies. We have had naturalization ceremonies at places around DAR properties. DAR's property in Georgia is the historic home of George Walton. He's one of our 3 signers of the Declaration of Independence. And his house is in Augusta, so we were lucky to have a ceremony located on that porch. And what you're seeing right there is that's DAR Constitution Hall. That is where that is our home headquarters, and that's where we hold Continental Congress, which is what we call our annual meeting. And let's see, so when people ask me what is DAR, I can go over and over and over, like all of the things that we do. But these are the things we get asked about. When your society makes some missteps, people remember. And so some of the things people remember is that DAR didn't admit Black women until they were forced to by a federal court case in 1972. And then even after that, there was another lady who had to sue the DC chapter in 1984. The blacklist, that is communism. So some of the chapters in the Chicago area got really concerned about communism and were outing other members of their chapters. So that's what that is. Marian Anderson was a famous opera singer, and she was denied the right to sing at the AR Constitution Hall in 1939 because she was Black. And that is, it continues to be something that people remember about DAR. The textbook committees of the 1950s are again communism showing up because some of the chapters got real concerned that history textbooks leaned too far towards communism. So 1950s. Phyllis Schlafly, if any of y'all just saw Mrs. America, she had the National Defender in the 1980s, and which was something that she did for the Eagle Forum, but she actually got that from when she was the National Defense Chairman for DAR. And she got us into a little bit of trouble because she got a bit too political with the National Defender. And we had our tax exempt status threatened. So that is something other folks remember. The godless scare of the last decade was some ladies got really upset that we have this ritual and missal that we provide every single administration in DAR. So that's every 3 years, every president general updates it. We have tried over the past few decades to make it more inclusive. And so they took the last couple of prayers that specifically use the word Jesus in them out of the ritual and missal and told chapters, you can still use the old rituals and missals if you'd like to, but here are some updated ones in case your chapter is more comfortable with these. And there were some ladies who got real upset and went on Fox News about it. And so that's what that is. And now this year, DAR supports a number of schools. 2 of the ones that we have financially supported for decades are Chippewa Indian School and Bacone College. Chippewa was in some trouble. And Bacone does not seem to be, which is great. But there is some issue with Chippewa about burial grounds on their site. So that is something we continue to have to discuss. And I think it's better to hit this head on and talk about, we know we did this. We know we did this wrong. So how do we move forward as a society? How do we change? Today, DAR accepts any, and that is underlined, any woman 18 years or older, regardless of race, religion, ethnic background, who can provide documented lineage to a patriot in the American Revolution. So we have also redefined what a patriot is. One of my patriots that I can verify was a lady who gave some milk to some soldiers. That was her service. It's documented because the state of South Carolina eventually paid her back for that milk. So we've made it so that 3 in 4 women in the United States are eligible for membership. So this is something we will continue to talk about. Yes, we want you to have somebody that you can say, this is my patriot ancestor, but we're gonna try to make it as easy as possible for you to have that patriot ancestor. It no longer has to be somebody who just fought in a battle. I want to say one more thing about that. DAR has spent a lot of time with those of us who do genealogy for the DAR, working with us on how to work with forgotten patriots. So there are people who have trouble proving their ancestry prior to the Civil War, African Americans particularly, but also Native Americans. So we have found different avenues to try to help people who have those roadblocks get around them. And this is something we're going to keep working on, because it wasn't just white people fighting in the American Revolution, and it's not just white people related to American patriots today. So DAR here in town, we're responsible for maintaining the site of Fort Wilkinson, which is really where the town was kind of founded, I guess. I mean, it was and it wasn't. It was because this was Creek land before, and then once the treaty at Fort Wilkinson happened, then Milledgeville could be formed. So we maintain that site, which is off the Vincent Highway, yes. My roads mixed up. We also volunteer time at the Georgia War Veterans Home. We conduct, of course, the local history essay contest that I have talked about before, and do Good Citizens Awards. We should be in every school in this county, and if you don't see us, please let us know. We also do one scholarship per year for a student who is a senior in Baldwin or Putnam counties for their college the next year. And we send care packages to active duty members stationed overseas. And of course, we raise money for state and local projects, as well as for what we are doing at the chapter. I didn't put on their Wreaths Across America, but we also do that as well. So DAR is anybody 18 or older. You mostly think of people older in DAR, but a lot of who you see here are juniors at work, and we call any woman under the age of 40. Nope, I just made that up. It was 36. I was a junior member. I should know this. It's 36. It's 40 as long as you can page it. That's a whole other thing. But women under the age of 36 are called junior members. They're full members, but we have some programs that we do particularly for them. There's an outstanding junior contest. A lot of times they get some discounts to the state conference and other programs like that. But we love having younger members and putting them to work. I promise you, I have definitely been put to work in this organization. But at this point, I'm going to just ask you, what do you want to know about DAR here, statewide or national? Yes.
I have a question. One, my grandmother was a member of DAR. Is that automatically let my sister be a member? What about me as a son?
So your sister will apply for membership on basically an already proven application. So she would submit only her birth certificate and her marriage certificate. That's it. You would qualify for Sons of the American Revolution. We do have a chapter here. It is the John Milledge chapter. And so they're a little bit smaller than the Nancy Hart chapter, but they're active, and we have them all the time at our meetings as well. And I've been to their meetings. And that's I encourage you to join.
What's the difference between DAR and colonial days?
DAR is American Revolution. Colonial Dames goes depends on the colonial dames, but if you're talking about 17th century, which is the one that has a chapter here, that's one generation further back. Just has to prove they were here in colonial times. We may actually have like the colonial dames with the like town committees and stuff. But I don't know if we do. We do. Theirs is a little tighter than 17th century. I think, I don't know because I'm not a member, but I think they have to go a couple generations backwards. And you have to be invited.
Thank you, Holly. See. All right, I want to welcome again our guests, Billy Bob and Dr. Greer. Hope to see you guys back next week. And next week, we will have our Peace Day celebration. That's going to be here. Mayor Copeland is coming to speak with us on that. And then the following week, we will have our district governor here. So encourage everyone to be here. And we're going to do a few new member inductions while the governor is here. So with that, everyone have a great week and we'll see you next week.